everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the show. I'm your brother Seamus. This is the Brother Seamus Show. I've got my coffee. We've got some live music in the house today, people. Got a special drop-in guest. Today's guest is a young fellow by the name of Zenstar Beat Cult. Zenstar's given us a little bit of live preaching music. We have some unsavory things to talk about. So I want to make sure we have some good background sounds to help drown out some of the awfulness. We have to listen to part of a speech today. We have to listen to a speech by Ted Cruz out of Texas, who's trying to dehumanize immigrants. He wants you to be so afraid of, we'll just say Mexicans, because it doesn't matter. In their mind, any brown person is a Mexican. And we're going to have to talk about how unsettling it is. We're going to have to talk about how unfortunate it is that he wants to dehumanize. That's his thing right now. Ted Cruz wants to dehumanize. And the whole Republican Party is trying as hard as it can. And forget about, if you're new to the voting game, forget about parties. Forget about parties. Focus on the ethics, right? If you're a young voter, we need you. Gen Z voters, we need you. We need you to look at the ethics, the humanity. Forget about party, look at policy. Listen to what they say about immigrants. Don't just, I'm looking at myself in the other camera, don't just let them tell you a story. This tape we're going to view is a very disturbing, I'm going to call it a call to arms. And I'm going to warn you that this tape, this recording, we still call it tape, even though they're not really using tape anymore. This recording that you're going to hear basically wants to scare you so badly. It wants to scare you into being afraid for your life, because that's how this party, we don't even need to say the name of this party, but that's how these types of candidates, this is how they think they're going to win. They think they're going to win by scaring you. And really what they're achieving, what they don't care about is that this kind of scare tactic makes it makes people want to harm other people. But that's their goal. That's their goal, is to cause some kind of harm. They want you to be so afraid that you could cause some kind of harm. And unfortunately, with the use of social media, they've gotten very good at calling for harm. What you'll hear in this tape, let me just tell you up front, Mr. Cruz wants to suggest to you that the people coming across the border aren't coming here simply to find work and look for a better way of life, and maybe avoiding either economic problems, like they don't have any jobs where they live, or the climate has changed and it's made where they live much more difficult. But they're coming here and they're willing to work. That's what most of those folks are doing. They're looking for a job. If it's an invasion, it's closer to morning rush hour traffic. But Mr. Cruz wants you to think that every person coming across that border, even though a lot of them are just family, they're families fleeing together. Many of them have very little. They only bring what they can carry kind of situation. That somehow they're coming here to prey upon you. And it's just not true. There are no more criminals. It's the same percentage of criminals in both populations. They're neither causing the crime rate to go up or go down appreciably, although in some cities, in immigrant cities, the crime rate's slightly lower, or cities that have heavy immigrant populations. The point is this: you're not at risk because of this, but they know that if you're not scared, they can't convince you. That's the key point. That's what your brother Seamus is here to talk about. If you're not scared, they can't convince you to vote for them. Now, what they conveniently leave out of all of everything that they talk about ever is that Joe Biden was ready to sign a border security bill. He was ready to sign it. And the Republicans said no. You know why? Because then they don't have anything to scare you with. They need a scare tactic. Social media takes advantage of your fear because it figures out which among us is most likely to react to the fear, right? So that's their big trick. Today's title is Hints That Danger is Afoot Greases the Skids of Dehumanization. And what do I mean by that? I think I just explained it, but I'm gonna explain it more specifically in terms of this title. Hints that danger is afoot. So they're not even hinting anymore. They pretty much come out and say, you're in danger all the time. Oh my God, you're in danger. Oh my gosh. The immigrants are coming. They want you to be terrified that the immigrants are coming. Look at that. My brother Seamus' title keeps popping up over my face and making itself extra large, which is pretty annoying. I'm going to work on that while I talk to you about my title. This says season 2, episode 15, but I think I skipped episode 11. But we're going to press on. So this is actually our 14th episode, but we're saying it's our 15th. Maybe I'll do an episode 11 out of order. That'd be fun. Maybe that'll be my finale. This is the Brother Seamus Show. You can call us at any time. 509-676-6032. The phone lines, I believe, are open. Let me double check and make sure. Are the phone lines open or not? I don't see any sign of them. Well, pickle my pickle. All right, the phone lines are open now. Give us a call, 509-676-6032. But what I was getting at is today's title. Ted Cruz wants you to feel like danger is afoot. Danger is right outside your door. He wants you to think that families who are so desperate that they'd pack up and go across the border, technically illegally, to find work. If you're afraid, that's the surest way to make you open to dehumanization. And dehumanization, this will be on the exam, by the way, for you Mass Comm 362 students. AP Political Science, this will be on the exam as well. Dehumanization is just, it's exactly what it sounds like, where you target a certain community of people, usually an ethnic minority or a religious minority, and you say things about them, you get people to believe things about them that are awful enough that people start to become comfortable with the idea of doing them harm. For example, if one ethnic group, let's say the Hutus, takes control of the radio station and they call the Tutsis cockroaches long enough, it starts to make it more okay to hurt them, because you get permission to not think of them as people. That's what dehumanization is. Permission to not think of them as people. If they're cockroaches or some other thing, then it's okay. It's okay to hurt them. That's the main point of today's episode. And thanks to Zenstar Beat Cult for laying down this tasty track. I'm going to jump over here on the other camera and see how it's looking over here. By the way, today's show, this is a note for my music producer Sam. I'm using the compressor that comes with OBS, and I set it to default settings just for my vocal track. We're using the compressor. These are notes for my music producer that have no relevance in your life, but I don't like to talk about Ted Cruz for too long because it can make you ill. What these folks are doing is they're strategically frightening people into believing that Mexicans and other immigrants should be treated as if they are all murderers and rapists, which is exactly what Mr. Trump, little Donnie Pants as I call him, you may have deduced by now that your brother Seamus doesn't support Mr. Donnie Pants. But I'm not here to make fun of you for supporting him. I'm here to try to reason with you, perhaps. Can we use reason? Mostly what Ted Cruz is doing is he's not using reason, but he wants you to hear the term child rapist. He likes to say that phrase. Because if you can believe that an entire group of people who are maybe fleeing for their lives, that they're all child rapists, then you start to feel okay with the idea of getting tough on them. It makes sense that the Republicans voted down the immigration bill, which was not the kind of bill that most Democrats agree with, but they knew they had to have a tough on crime kind of approach. I think they also knew, I think Joe Biden is a smart political tactician. He knew that Trump would tell his people that they can't vote yes on the border security bill, which they could have, an improved border security, because then they lose it as an issue to scare you with. If the Republicans actually worked with the Democrats, and again, don't worry too much about parties, there'd be a bill that most people would be okay with. And hey, maybe we could have a worker registration program where people who come here to work voluntarily register, and we don't have to treat it like it's such a big deal. Even Ronald Reagan thought that was a good idea. No president has figured out the immigration issue because it's such a game of political hot potato. And both sides are guilty. Both sides. So forget about parties. If you're a young voter and you're just joining us, as a man of a certain age who's been voting for many decades, my best advice to you would be forget about labels, look at behavior. Look at specific behavior. I'm going to talk real close to the mic here and get dangerously close to being too loud to see how the compressor handles it. The OBS standard compressor. Well, let's see, I clipped there just a little bit. So Sam, default settings on the OBS standard compressor on my voice only. The music track is separate. And it's bringing us to the part of the show that I dread. And that's where you have to actually listen to Ted Cruz talk. And it's pretty gross. I gotta warn you, it's pretty gross what he's doing. I think it's just my opinion. And I don't wish him ill, but I wish him out of politics as quickly as possible. Now this is on YouTube, and I'll try to play it without ads sneaking in there, but I'm going to play it in a small screen. You don't really need to see it. Let me give you a better background than that. Let's see, what do we got for backgrounds here? Let's put your brain in the background. How about that? We'll put your brain right there. You can look at the limbic system. That's your, limbic system. It's a complicated system, but I think of it as an emotional control system, basically. If your limbic system is well regulated, then you're probably managing your emotions pretty well. But let's sneak old teddy bear in there. All right, how do I grab this mother? There's nowhere to grab it. Oops, there it goes. Nope, 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 and nope, nope. Nope, nope, nope. Let me mess with this over here. Where did it go? Where did it go, Cotton Eye Joe? All right, here we go. This is boring. Let's see. Let me give you something else to look at while I do boring computer stuff. There you go. Protect your body, people. Vote for Joe. I'm very, very in favor of Joe Biden, and I know a lot of you from both the left and the right aren't big fans, but since it's my show, I get to talk about what I want to talk about. Here's the thing: Joe Biden's just a normal guy. That's why I like him. He's probably not as far left as you'd like him to be. But let me ask you this: how do you think old Donnie Pants would handle the situation in Gaza? I'll tell you this much: it wouldn't be suing for peace, which is exactly what Joe Biden's doing. Joe Biden's also very much wanting to help you. If you're a human and you're the owner of a womb, he's very interested in helping you keep your bodily autonomy. That's what he's all about. All right, I'm going to shrink this up pretty good so you can still see the brain in the background. All right, enough talk. This is Senator Ted Cruz talking about he loves to talk about child rape, and he's talking about how somehow criminals who exploit immigrants, coyotes, in other words, they are abusing the people. They often do abuse the people that they help across the border, and somehow that's Joe Biden's fault. No, that's not what I wanted. Oh, no, it's gone. Isn't that something? Oh, maybe this is it.
When we were down there, we asked the Border Patrol agents, we said, how many Democrats come down to do this? And they laughed. They said, oh, Democrats don't do this. A couple of Democrats...
All right, let's pause right there for a minute. The idea that you went down to the border physically doesn't prove anything, but it sounds like something. So already he's being misleading. He's trying to say Democrats don't care because they don't go down to the border. Well, first of all, they do go down to the border and they do care, but going to the border doesn't prove you care. Anybody can go to the border. It proves nothing. But this is the kind of BS logic that Mr. Cruz wants you to not think about. Like somehow being at the border proves you care. And Democrats don't do it. But of course they do. There's ample evidence that Democratic politicians, especially those from the state of Texas, do go to the border to see what's going on for themselves. So, you know, Trump had a few things right when he called Ted Cruz Lyin Ted. He was right on target.
Have been to the border. They don't go on midnight patrols.
Oh, they don't go on midnight patrols because, again, somehow midnight patrols makes him cool. It also, he's fighting hard to make you forget that he fled his community. Ted Cruz fled his community when they were in a real bad situation because of winter storms and the power was out, and Ted fled. That's what we should call him, not Lyin Ted.
They don't go actually encounter the illegal immigrants. We now know Joe Biden
Ted
went
fled.
to the border once. He went to El Paso.
He's going to spend a few minutes telling you how Joe Biden went to the border but didn't do it the way that he should have done it. And it's just, this is all warm-up for what he really wants to convince you about, which is that
and he instructed his advance team.
Everyone that comes across the border is a rapist and a murderer. That's really what he wants you to come away with. So watch how he eases into it here.
Clean all the illegal immigrants out. He said, according to the White House, said he did not encounter a single illegal immigrant when he was there. He only went to a bridge, he met with government officials, and he left.
Do you know why? Because Joe Biden knows how to gather information. He doesn't have to stand out at night with a film crew trying to look like a hard ass. He has professionals that do that for him. Why would a president of the United States go out at midnight and stand in the dark? You idiot.
That's deliberate.
Yeah, it's called smart governing.
You can't see what's happening and defend
Here we
it.
go. Here we go.
The last time we were...
He's telling you how you have to feel right now. You can't see that and defend it.
Down there, I had a reporter ask me, said, well, aren't the Democrat policies on immigration much more humane and compassionate? I just started laughing. I said, you know who doesn't believe that anymore? The Democrats. Where's Joe Biden? Where's Kamala Harris? Where's the Democrat senator? Where's Chuck Schumer? If this was humane and compassionate, they'd be holding press conferences down at the border. Look how humane and compassionate we are. You can no longer see the human suffering.
He's trying to make you think being humane.
We had the sheriff of Brooks County bring a binder
Hang on,
just
Ted.
with
Hang on
photographs of
there,
dead
Lyin
bodies.
Ted. He wants you to think that being compassionate towards immigrants is a bad thing. He's going to try in some way to link it to weakness and that all these immigrants are so bad and so dangerous that having any compassion for them is wrong and bad. What if they're 3 years old, Ted? Ted left.
That he finds day after day after day of migrants who died crossing into this country. You can't defend the Biden body bags anymore.
Oh, there you go. So now he's trying to get you with a catchphrase, the Biden body bags. Guess what? Body bags existed during the Trump administration too. If Trump would have solved the immigration problem, he would have easily won. He would have easily won against Joe Biden. But he didn't. He didn't solve it. So what do we make of that? Well, immigration is tricky, people. That's what we make of it. That's what we make of it. I'm not saying Joe Biden has solved it. By no means. But Trump doesn't have any answers either. I do wonder what would have happened if the Republicans wouldn't have cock-blocked that bill, which is what they did, because it was kind of Biden saying, hey, look, you really want immigration policy? Let's do it. Here's a conservative bill. But it didn't work because they blocked it, because they need to be able to talk about it. They need to be able to talk about it because it's the thing that can scare you. And there are I get it. The images of people walking through the border. If you see any large crowd and somebody says they're invading you, that can upset you, and it'll hit your amygdaloid body that just happens to be sitting here right next to Ted. Ted is trying to get your amygdala to fire. He's pouring gasoline on it. He's like, they're going to come over, and he's going to start talking about child rapists here. And I want you to understand something. Most of what he's saying is probably based on one or two cases that can be confirmed. And if there are evildoers down there by the border who take advantage of people to, they take their money, basically, and then they probably abuse them on occasion if they're vulnerable. Predators look for vulnerable people. But the people he's talking about that are committing these crimes are helping people across the border. They're not the people that are coming across. I mean, maybe some of them do. But the Biden administration, the Trump administration, the Clinton, the Obama administration cannot control every sociopath in the world. And just because sociopaths are out there committing crimes doesn't mean Joe Biden supports that. That's his basic message.
So the entire Democrat approach is hide from it, and they're frankly counting on the media. They're counting on the media not to tell the American people what's happening because they have no defense. You asked
they have many
about the
defenses.
supplemental.
Many.
Understand the White House's strategy here because it's an utter joke.
I see.
The funding that they call, quote, border security is not designed to reduce even one illegal immigrant. It's not designed to stop even 1 pound of fentanyl.
So says Ted Cruz. I'm sure if you actually ask the White House, I'm not saying there's proof one way or the other, but they're not going to agree to this ridiculous assessment.
What it is designed to do,
according to Ted,
is accelerate this process.
According to Ted,
the Biden administration is asking for more money to process illegal immigrants faster. More planes and more buses to send more illegal immigrants to New York City and Washington, D.C.
So he acts like having more immigrants is automatically a bad thing, when in fact there's a ton of evidence that immigrants actually improve our economy, Ted. That's the part you're skipping. You just want them to hate the immigrants, but they do improve our economy.
And Chicago and every city in America, they don't want to stop it and understand Joe Biden could prevent this tomorrow.
Yeah, how? Exactly
when you
how?
ask the Border Patrol agents, how do we fix this? They say, look, we don't need more money. We need...
Okay, so there he just did a nice little thing where he's disguising his opinion as if he did a survey of Border Patrol agents. When you ask the Border Patrol agents what they need, they say, we don't need more agents. Well, ask another one, and they might say, we do need more agents. He's acting like he's speaking on behalf of Border Patrol agents by simply stating his own opinion. And of course you're going to find a Border Patrol agent who will agree with you and say that thing. That's just one person, people. That's just one single person. So this is how you do the flim-flam. He's doing the old flim-flam on you. It's like Trump likes to do it this way. He's like, well, people are saying that Hillary was a really bad criminal. Okay, where's the evidence? Just if she's a criminal, arrest her. If Hunter Biden lied on his gun ownership form, which probably half of... How many people filled out gun ownership forms and admitted that they're alcoholics? Probably none. There's probably like one honest guy down in Oklahoma that admitted it, and then he didn't get a gun, and he was like, damn it, you have to lie on that one. You can't tell the truth. But if Biden committed crimes, if Hillary committed crimes, good. Process them through the legal system the same way that little Donnie Pants just got processed. But Lyin Ted Who Fled is trying to get us to believe, based on something he may or may not have actually heard from a Border Patrol agent. Some people would say we need more Border Patrol agents. Some people would say we don't need them. We need smarter policy. We could argue about this forever.
Policy, and here's the policy we need.
Here's
when
the
we
policy.
Catch someone, follow the law and deport them. And if you do that, the numbers plummet. Right now, when they catch someone, they let them go.
It's called due process. It's also called a smarter way to do it. What if they're good, helpful people, and we want them to stay here? I'm just
and
throwing
that
out there.
person gets on their phone, gets on social media,
Blah,
tells all
blah,
their friends
blah.
back home, hey, if you come here, you get to stay. That question, it's one question. What happens when someone's...
And again, he wants you to believe that if you come here and you're caught and you don't get deported that very minute, that's permission to stay. And that's a lie, too. You might get to stay a little bit longer. You might get a hearing. You might get to plead your case, which is part of, hey, I hate to tell you this, but part of being an American is having a system of justice that you respect. So if you have a case to plead and you come here and you cross the border without papers, but you say, I want to go before a judge and plead my case, really, is it so terrible? Also, keep reminding yourself, we need some immigrants. This idea that we can kick every single immigrant out, it's a fantasy that gets you upset. It's a fantasy that makes you feel like, oh, that's an easy answer. But it's not an easy answer. It's just something you say when Lyin Ted Who Fled gets on stage and is trying to figure out, how can I scare these people into voting for Trump? I need them to be afraid of Mexicans or anyone across the border. By the way, the word, I don't know if Mexicans want this honor, but now when you say Mexican, coming from the right side of the aisle, that means any brown person anywhere in the world. It's like Kleenex. If you're Hispanic, Ted Cruz will just say you're Mexican. He doesn't know. He doesn't know and he doesn't care. He doesn't need you to know. He wants your amygdala. Your amygdala will just say, I don't know. I'm just going to be afraid of all of them. I should be afraid of all of them instead of taking them on their merits.
Apprehended, do they get...
Now, I will say this. He makes a good point here. Like people coming across, if they don't face deportation, then of course other people are going to come. But I think the real issue is, why don't we interview people? Why don't we take some time and say, hello, we see that you've crossed the border without papers. Why are you here? And we need to register you. Because then you can get a better sense of people who aren't trafficking fentanyl or trafficking sex or trafficking whatever. You can have a legit pool of people who are guest workers, but they don't want that either. Ted wants you to be afraid of all of them. Ted wants you to be afraid that they're going to hurt you. And if he can get you to believe they're going to hurt you, then he's well on his way to getting you to vote for him, because they don't really have any policies other than that you should be afraid and that we should kick out all the immigrants. Kick them out. Kick them all out. So if you're a Gen Zer and you're getting ready to vote for the first time, or if you're a millennial and you've been voting for a minute, keep in mind how much they're trying to scare you, right? Just keep in mind how much they're trying to scare you. It's a lot. They are trying to scare you a lot. And one of the standard things that we preach here on the Brother Seamus show is that you have to slow down. You have to slow down. You have to use your reasoning, okay? This will be on the exam. Reasoning requires a calmer state of mind. When you're in a panicked state, when your amygdala is firing off like crazy, telling you to be afraid because Ted Cruz told you to be afraid, your poor amygdala is working overtime telling you to be afraid. Don't be afraid.
At home, or do they stay here? As long as Joe Biden insists the answer is they stay here, that number will keep going up. Children will keep being sexually abused.
Oh, there we go. Okay. So wait. He just tied in. First, he's complaining that if you're here without papers, which is what? A misdemeanor? If you're here without papers, that is causing children to be raped. So now what he's done, I think he's trying so hard to dehumanize that he's lost track of the fact that he's portraying Mexicans as both the cause of and the victims of rape. He doesn't know who. It's like, oh, we're supposed to hate them because they're coming here and raping people, but they're also the victims of rape? Doesn't make any sense.
Be raped, and people will continue to die.
And they're going to die.
Abused. Women will continue to be raped, abused. Women will continue to be continue to be raped, and
women will continue to be raped, is what Ted wants you to believe. There's no evidence. There's no evidence. There's none. There's no evidence that rape is more prevalent in immigrant communities than it is anywhere else. Now, he wants you to blur that distinction. And I'm sure there have been some horrific crimes committed by human traffickers, because human traffickers are usually sociopaths, right? Human traffickers are usually sociopaths who are in it for the, at the very least, they're in it for the money. But very often, they are in it because they like power over people, right? But those human traffickers are not the ones that are trying to get in to the country for the most part. They're taking money from people. They're trying to get money from people to get them across the border, and they abuse them as a result of that. So one way to deal with this would be to have a policy where you come and check in. And you voluntarily say, hey, look, I know you can deport me whenever you want, but I've got a job here and I'm trying to feed my kids, and here's my phone number and my name. Donald Trump loved the idea of extreme vetting. Maybe this is a situation where we need extreme vetting. Let's get people to register. Then if there are some dangerous folks among them, we can sort them out. Most of the dangerous folks will find a way across the border anyway. You're not going to stop the most hardened criminals because they do whatever they want. They have no respect for borders or laws or anything. The presence of a large number of immigrants who are unauthorized to be here does not put you in danger. But Ted definitely needs you to feel.
People will continue to die of fentanyl drug overdose.
There you go. Fentanyl drug overdose. Yep, there is fentanyl coming up through Mexico, but where is it coming from? And why are our people such easy targets for fentanyl? What's going on? Why are we abusing so many drugs? Could it be that we made it legal to sell prescription pain medicine to millions and millions of people who got hopelessly addicted? Is fentanyl a cheaper way of getting that high? A high that we created, our pharmaceutical industry created, our medical industry and our the people that sell the drugs, sell the prescriptions. We all, in some way, we conspired to make it easier for people to get hooked on pain pills. And then we're gonna complain that fentanyl is coming up. You know what happens when people stop using fentanyl and they have good substance abuse support? Then the people don't smuggle fentanyl because there's no market. If you reduce the demand, people, this is your brother Seamus, this is the secret to a lot of our problems. Fossil fuels, we're burning too much gas. If we reduce the demand, the problem will stop. But he wants you to have things to be afraid of. So fentanyl, rape, and murder.
The Democrats can't defend that. That's why they don't go. Because they can't answer these questions.
But we've already determined that that's just a flat-out lie. But that's a lie that Ted just wants you to accept. He's spoon-feeding you the lie that Democrats don't go to the border. They do. Multiple Democrats have gone to the border. It's easy to find their YouTube videos. So just remember, Lyin Ted Who Fled his community. Lyin Ted Who Fled. Lyin Ted Who Fled his community desperately needs you to be afraid. Without fear, he knows that you'll see through his bullshit and that you'll also ask him the question, why didn't you vote for the border security bill? He'll say it was a bad bill. Right? That's what Ted will say. He'll say it was a bad bill. But what he won't say is that Donald Trump told them they couldn't vote for it. Because most of you know, I assume you Trump supporters realize that Donald Trump is in control of the party right now. With very few exceptions, right? You know he's in control. And Ted is, it's a little bit of a, you wouldn't think of this as a hostage video, right? You would not think of this as a hostage video, but it is. Ted can't even tell you what smart border policy would be because it would take negotiating between Democrats and Republicans, and he won't do it. And maybe Biden's bill was a bad bill, but it was the only bill on the table that at least got something started, and Ted said no. Because it takes away, Trump knows he's a genius at messaging. Trump knows he needs something to make you afraid. So it's child rape somehow child rape occurring in Mexico by predators who are trafficking humans is the fault of our border being too open. But if our border was too open, wouldn't the people, this is another problem, people wouldn't need coyotes. Coyotes are used to sneak you around difficult borders. But none of those details matter if you're upset enough.
And they bear responsibility. You know, the Border Patrol of fentanyl drug overdose. Of fentanyl drug overdose. Of fentanyl drug.
I clicked too many times.
Of fentanyl drug overdose.
Let's go back to the rape.
And people will continue to die.
Yep, death from
of fentanyl drug overdose.
Oh, that's death from fentanyl.
Women will continue to be raped, used. Women will used. Women used.
I've seen other versions of this.
Children will keep being sexually abused. Women up. Children will keep being sexually abused. Children will keep. Children going up. Children will keep being sexually abused. Women.
I offer you a very simple idea to think about. Do you want to make your decisions based on fear, based upon fear? And doesn't Ted Cruz's little speech here, doesn't it tell us more about Ted than what's actually going on? There are a lot of atrocities that happen when humans migrate in an uncontrolled manner. The United States did not create that migration. Ted Cruz wants you to believe it's because there's no border security. But the fact of the matter is, when there are jobs to be had, right, people will come. And I also want you to think about this. If it's really about border security, if we really wanted to stop the flow of immigration, and in some ways, Ted is half right. He's like, Biden could stop it right now. But he's not telling the whole truth. The way that you would stop it is not a way that most Americans would want you to stop it. And it would either be through killing people, which they're not going to do, or you'd have to arrest the people that are hiring them. How come we never arrest the employers? We pin it all on the employees, but we don't arrest the employer. I'm not saying we should. I'm saying we don't do it. We act like we're trying to fix the border, but we're not. Ted Cruz is just doing something that allows him to make a big, angry speech. Right? We'll be right back.
will continue to be raped, and people be raped, and people and continue to be raped, and people will be raped, and people will continue to be raped, and be raped, continue to be raped, and people continue to be raped, and people continue to be raped, continue to be raped, continue to be raped, to be raped, to be raped, be raped, and people will continue to die. Be raped, and people will continue to die, and people will continue to die, and people will continue to die, people will continue to will continue to die, will continue to die, will continue to be raped, to be raped, to be raped, and a fentanyl drug, to die, to die, to die. Continue to be raped and abused. Women will be sexually abused. Women will continue to be sexually abused, keep being sexually abused. Women women will sexually abused, being sexually will keep being sexually. Children will keep being up. Children will keep being sexually abused. Up. Children will keep being sexually abused.
That's the one. That's the one he wants you to pay most attention to. Is that the harm to children? That's a weak spot for a lot of you, and I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that in a way that that you should be callous to the idea of child abuse of any kind, sexual, physical, or otherwise, but he wants you to believe that somehow the people at the border, who are in many cases the ones being abused, are also the abusers. But really what he wants is to get in your head with the idea that children are being victimized. Because he knows that's a weak spot for you, but what he doesn't want you to do is think it through. There's a very good chance, I think I can say this with a fair amount of certainty, that had the Republicans not cock-blocked the bill that the Democrats presented, maybe the border would be in better shape. I don't know if that bill would have done it or not either. But it was a try. They were trying to do some good. But Ted Cruz and his cohorts wouldn't sign it. So they've got him on the record not signing it. So when you wonder to yourself, why isn't anybody doing anything to make sense of the border? Ask yourself two questions. A, does Ted Cruz really want to fix the problem, or does he want it to campaign upon, which I would argue he does? And what is the right answer? He's not offering an answer. He's basically, his idea is, well, you catch them at the border and you throw them back. Okay, how are you going to do that? A lot of people have tried to do that. Trump kind of tried to do that. It didn't really work. He created a humanitarian crisis. Do we really want to get rid of the people that are picking our fruit? That's the bigger question, if you slow down for a minute. Some of these farmers, some American farmers, asked the people in Garden City, Kansas, Lyin Ted Who Fled, asked them if they can get along without immigrant labor, because the answer, generally speaking, is no. They can't get along because Americans won't take the jobs, or there just aren't enough people around. There's more jobs than there are people. And I'm not saying there are any easy answers at all. So with that in mind, we'll be back in a few minutes. By the way, you can call us even when we're on break, people. This is the Brother Seamus Show. I'm going to take a little break here. We're at 51 minutes today. I'll probably go for another 30 minutes. If you want to give us a call, you can leave a message if I don't answer. Once again, a big shout out to Zen Star Beat Cult for providing the preaching music, I like to call it, for the first half of the show. The preaching music from Zen Star Beat Cult. I'm your brother Seamus. I keep saying I'm going on a break, and then I remember one more thing. We are here at the Brother Seamus Show. We are dedicated to human rights and nonviolence, even against our enemies. Even against our enemies, like Lyin Ted Who Fled Cruz. I don't wish him any harm. I wish he'd shut the F up. He's getting people needlessly afraid while simultaneously refusing to offer any concrete suggestions, other than something that it makes a good soundbite. There aren't any easy answers, but you can call us 509-676-6032. I'd love to hear ideas people have about immigration that would make it both safe and humane for everybody. If we allowed an orderly process that includes worker registration, that would take the wind right out of the coyote sails. That would make trafficking humans not worth it, because they wouldn't need to sneak in. I know you're thinking, we're going to let them take over the country. There's 350 million people here. If you want to work hard and do what everybody else does, you want to bring up your kids in a safe environment, you want access to good schools, there's always room for good people. Immigrants do make great Americans. And if you agree with that concept, I can't go on my break until I spin you up on these deals. Humans for Democracy is the official merch site for the Brother Seamus Show. I have another merch site, but this one's the most on target right now, so we're going to go with this. Immigrants make great Americans. We have lots of styles and colors. You can get yourself, let's see, this is a style I didn't know existed. What do they call this one? Oh, I don't know what it is. Premium unisex tee, classic unisex tee, comfort, women's flowy cropped tee. That's what this is, and I didn't even know that was a thing. But you can get various colors. I try to pick some lighter pastels. This was the early favorite, was just the plain kind of slate gray. What do they call this gray color? Well, come on, give me my colors back. Heather. They call that heather. I like the heather. Immigrants make great Americans. You can go to bonfire.com and type in that phrase, immigrants make great Americans. You should find it. Or you can go to bonfire.com and type in /store/humans for democracy. That'll get you right to our t-shirt site. There are also Be an Anti-Racist t-shirt, also for sale. Let's take a look at those. They're a lot of people don't know what you mean exactly when you say be an anti-racist, and it simply means don't just sit still and say you're against racism. You got to get up on your feet and go out and do some work. Help society move towards a truly post-racial mindset, which I think we're getting there. I think we're actually getting close to where it could flip into a truly post-racial society if the legal system holds. Because if we give way to people like Mr. Trump who simply want to destroy the legal system, racism's probably going to get worse. So think about that when it comes time to vote. Would you like to move toward a more truly post-racial society? I'm not saying I'm not saying we got everything figured out, people. I am not saying we got everything figured out. But inspiring one group of Americans to hate and possibly target another group of Americans, if you want Americans to hate other Americans, which is what it seems like Mr. Trump is trying to do, then you're not really part of the solution. You're just trying to get people to hate each other. Don't be fooled by the politics of hate. Don't be fooled by Lyin Ted. Lyin Ted Who Fled. He fled Texas when his constituents were without power in the winter long enough that people died. But Ted was on the beach. I believe he went to Cancun. You can look that up for yourself and verify my facts. people. This is the Brother Seamus Show. Coming at you live on Q109 from Walla Walla, Washington. If you're taking AP Political Science with Mr. Schnozzle, this entire episode is eligible for your exam. I want to make you aware of that. I think that's enough talk about Mr. Cruz. He's a good example of a man who is really selling his soul just for political power, you know. I know some of you think perhaps that Joe Biden is the most evil person in the world. Some of you think that. But he's really just kind of a regular guy. And so if you think about, do you want an extremist who wants to dehumanize Mexicans, whatever definition of Mexican they're using today, there are 81 million votes from 2020 that were left on the table. Right? Let's do the math. 81 million people didn't vote in 2020, and a whole bunch of those people are young, Gen Z, and millennials. Now, I know you're not crazy about Biden or you think your vote doesn't count. Either way, do you want to turn it over to a bunch of people whose only policy issue is to use fictitious or let's say highly exaggerated cases of child rape, murder, and fentanyl? Do you want to turn it over to these people who will then go about doing their primary piece of work, which is to lower taxes for the super wealthy? I get that you're mad. A lot of people voting for Trump are mad about how they've been treated, and you have been treated wrong. You have been. It's just not the immigrants that have been doing the bad stuff to you. When people have too much financial power, they will abuse their workers. So even if you've been a loyal worker, even if you've worked for a hospital for 20 years, when you get to a certain level, they're not going to pay you anymore. Because the people at the top have acquired so much financial power that they can pretty much get away with whatever they want to get away with. That's a bit of an exaggeration. And when you got billionaires taking Supreme Court justices out on their yachts, buying them $200,000 motorhomes, almost $250,000 motorhome. Wouldn't you like to see that motorhome? I don't even care. I'm not saying Clarence Thomas broke the law. He's just a scumbag. That's what I'm getting at, is he's just a guy that wants to use his position to make money. Okay, well, maybe we got to make that illegal. But in the meantime, your brother Seamus would love to see that RV. I need a tour of the RV, and I think it's only fair that part of the ethical obligation, if you're a judge and somebody with business before the court gives you a motorhome, and even if they don't have business before the court, maybe they will someday, here's a $250,000 motorhome there. I'm exaggerating. I think it only costs like $210,000. And for those of you who are just joining us, basically billionaires have been courting Clarence Thomas, one specific billionaire. But the point is, judges can't be accepting gigantic gifts, people. These aren't just regular gifts. It's not like his wife's bundt cake. It's not like his grandmother's fruit cake. Like, hey, judge, we're friends. I'm a billionaire. I don't want to make things look corrupt, so I'm just going to give you a fruit cake that my wife made. My wife made the fruit cake, and I hope you'll enjoy it. That's fine. Clarence, you can take as many fruit cakes, I guess, to a point. How much fruit cake can one man eat? You know the kind I'm talking about. It's got the little weird cherries that are have been marinated, maraschino cherries, marinated so long that they don't seem to be made of cherries anymore. They're made of rubber and wax and applesauce or something. Do you want a party that's going to vote to lower the taxes on the people who want to own the Supreme Court justices? And that's who Mr. Lyin Ted Who Fled Cruz, Mr. Lyin Ted, wants you to give them power, and basically it will lead to your wages remaining even more stagnant. The only chart you really need to look at if you want to understand the con artistry of the right, what we right now call the Republican Party, but what's in a name? You could call it whatever you want. These are the people that support billionaires. Of course, Democrats support some billionaires too. But these guys, here's the big difference. This is on your exam, people. The Republicans want to actually lower taxes for the super wealthy. You don't have to believe it for me. Listen to Donnie. Little Donnie Pants talks about it all the time. He wants to make sure that the rich people are well taken care of, and then he'll buy you off for a hamburger today, and he'll gladly pay you on Tuesday. He'll take away your health care with no real replacement, because that makes more money for the big insurance industry. They don't want public health care to work because they want to make money off of you. They want to make money off of your illnesses, and they are. And of course, the Democrats have played a role in that. But Joe Biden is in favor of making the tax code more fair, giving regular people more tax breaks and putting a bigger burden on the rich folks. And that's what this fight is about. And that's why guys like Ted come out and say stuff like this.
Women will continue to be raped, and people will continue to be raped, and people will continue to die. Will continue to be raped, will continue to be raped, and people will continue to die of fentanyl drug overdose. Of fentanyl drug overdose. Of fentanyl drug overdose. To die. To die. Of fentanyl drug. People will continue to die. Continue to die. Abused. Women will continue to be raped. Abused. Women will continue to be raped, and children will keep being sexually abused. Women.
There you go, folks. Do you want to vote for that? Now remember what he's arguing about. He wants you to be so afraid of immigrants. The immigrants that work here. The immigrants that we continue to hire. You really want to stop immigration? Crack the whip on the employers. But everybody knows that's a bad idea, including Lyin Ted Who Fled. He knows that's a bad idea because our economy needs those folks. But if your fear buys him a vote, which allows him to lower taxes on billionaires, then he's won. That's the whole conspiracy, people. It's rich people trying to buy the government, and they've done pretty good. And in this case, like Donnie Trump, he's not an evangelical, but he knew that if he got in bed with the evangelicals by giving them what? Killing Roe versus Wade. If he gave the radical right-wing evangelical Christians control over women's bodies, then they would give him the key to the White House. And it worked. I mean, again, you got to give him credit. He knows where the power is, and he knows how to exploit things. And he knows how to make you feel like somehow the immigrants are the problem. But boy, if we don't keep hiring them, right? So are they the problem? Yeah, selling fentanyl is dangerous stuff. But who created the drug addiction problem to begin with? It was the people that stand to gain from Trump's tax plan. If you happen to be somebody with the Affordable Care Act, there's about 40 million Americans who, for one reason or another, don't get health insurance from their employers, mostly because the employers don't offer it. They need health insurance. Where do? They go to the Affordable Care Act. You pay based on upon your income level. It came to be known as Obamacare, and Trump wants you to think that if you get rid of Obamacare, that somehow that'll help you. It won't help any normal person. It'll help the people that own insurance companies who can then gouge you for higher prices. Because mainly what the Affordable Care Act did was it made healthcare affordable by setting some limits on how much they can profit off of people. So there you go, folks. I didn't mean to tell you the whole conspiracy at once, but I did. Because I'm your brother Seamus, and I like to tell the truth. I like to rub my bald head. I like to do a long fade from one camera shot to another. This is a experimental call-in variety show. But ain't nobody calling in. You know what I'm saying? I'm your brother Seamus, and nobody's calling in, which actually is kind of fun. Someday maybe this will be fun to laugh at. But we got to protect. I don't even like the word democracy because it's too vague. Like, what do you mean by democracy? Do you mean direct democracy where everybody votes for the? No. It just means, do you want to elect your own leaders? Do you want representative government, or do you want kind of what Trump wants, which is he has all the power and he gets to decide? If that's what you want, I respect you enough to say I hope you don't vote for Trump, especially you millennials and you Gen Zers, because y'all could turn the page here. Y'all could flip us into a truly post-racial society. And I know for some people that sounds scary, but it's good for everybody. We stick to the rule of law. We don't give Mr. Trump all the power to be a dictator, even though he's kind of got you convinced that's a good idea. What he's also got you forgetting is that that's the reason we fought the Revolutionary War. We fought the Revolutionary War to have self-governance. Call it what you like. Republic is a form of a democracy. Constitutional republics. That's kind of what most people want, too. They want some freedom. If you live in Russia right now, a lot of you people think Russia's so cool. Donnie Trump can't stop praising Vladimir Putin, right? If you were in Russia right now, and you said what I'm saying about Trump, about Vladimir Putin, the goons would get you. You can't say shit about shizzle over there, people. You cannot say shit about shizzle in Russia. They will fuck you up because you ain't got no rights because they turned it over to a dictator. He pretends to have elections, but none of the agencies that observe elections, not just in the U.S., around the world, none of them believe that Vladimir Putin was actually elected with a landslide. And anybody that challenged him went to prison or got poisoned. So if you want to play that game, then by all means vote for Mr. Trump. I hope you don't, because at our core, humans need to be free. That's why the American experiment worked. Donald Trump wants you to forget that. He wants you to forget that we did the right thing back in 1776, and we should keep doing the right thing. And no president should have full and complete immunity. Why would you ever give somebody like that unchecked power, folks? Why would you ever give people unchecked power? It's absolutely ludicrous. This is the Brother Seamus Show. Thanks for joining us, everybody. This is the Brother Seamus Show. I'm enjoying my iced coffee. Cold brew, I should say. Brewed it cold. Why would anybody do such a thing? Well, it turns out, at least for me, that cold brew doesn't require me to add any sugar. And I'm not completely anti-sugar, but it's really probably not that good for us. There seems to be lots and lots and lots of evidence that refined sugar probably not great. I mean, I still love it. I love me some sour Skittles. I love some Nerds Rope. But I won't push the candy. I won't ever, once I become famous. Hey, let me say something here. Once I become famous, I won't push candy. If you work for Skittles and you want me to be a pitch man for Skittles, here's what I'm going to say. Even though a bright illuminated Skittles package, neon Skittles would look real good right here, I won't shill for you. I won't be a pitch man for you Skittles or any other similar sugary treat unless you allow me to pontificate about the dangers of sugar. Now, I know what you're saying. Why would you want your audience to hear about the dangers of sugar when you're trying to sell them sugar? But once I become so famous that you want me to be your pitch man, I'll do it if while I'm telling them how delicious your product is, that I can also tell them how dangerous it is. Because guess what? Some people are still going to want it. I'm not saying we get rid of sugar. Some people are still going to eat it. They're just going to say, all right, I accept the risk. Right? That's freedom. I'm not here to tell you can't eat delicious Skittles, especially neon-flavored Skittles. Brought to you by our sponsor, Skittles. I would like you to send me big bags of money, so I will pitch your product if you allow me to state the scientific dangers, not your industry spin. Because y'all can take the industry spin, and I don't want to be crude or anything, but you know what you can do with your industry spin? You can spin it right up your own arse. That's what I would say. But I do believe in freedom of choice, what little there is. Predetermination. A lot of people think that most of our choices are predetermined, and nature, nurture, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. That's for another show. These beats today were created on Fruity Loops, ladies and gentlemen. Fruity Loops, also not a sponsor, but will be someday when I'm rich and famous. I don't really care about all that, though. That rich fame stuff. Sounds like a lot of... I think famous people must just... I don't know what the right word would be. Like they're captive. They must feel captive in a way. But I'm your brother Seamus. I'm neither rich nor famous, but I have been a psychologist for 30, count them, 30 years. And I have some ideas about maybe, I know, call me crazy, maybe we should step back. Maybe we should step back from the cliff that we're about to step off of by electing, choose your word, a tyrant, an autocrat, an emperor for a day. Mr. Trump is, I think he's compulsively, accidentally honest. He's telling us what he wants to do. He wants to be a ruler who has ultimate power. He's gone to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court was corrupt enough. The Supreme Court was corrupt enough to accept his argument for consideration. You know what his argument was? Presidents should get to do anything and have full immunity. So that means the minute he's president, he can just start assassinating people. And he wants to. You know he would. Even those of you who love Trump, you know if somebody walked into the Oval Office and said, hey, you can start killing people, Trump and a whole lot of other presidents would probably say, oh, good, I'm going to go kill some. I don't like this person because they might threaten me in the next election. And they'll kill him. Trump asked for the Supreme Court to consider that argument, and they said, okay. I wonder why. Do you think it has anything to do with the fact that if little Donny Pants gets elected, that he'll help the rich get richer? And if they want somebody killed, maybe they go to Donnie and they say, hey, Donnie, can you kill this mofo? I'm not saying Democrats are perfect. Far from it. Democrats have had a lot of issues. Democrats participated in a lot of chicanery. A lot of mistakes were made. The Iraq War is probably one of the most recent. All based on a false premise that was either believed by the president at the time, George W. Bush, or he was kind of, I won't say tricked, he was convinced. He was convinced that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Saddam Hussein is a horrible, violent leader, but that's separate from us going to war there. So Democrats have played a role in this. The difference now is that the Trump administration wants to be open about the fact that they want total power. Ask Trump the right way, and he'll say it himself. Dr. Phil, Sean Hannity tried to talk him back from the ledge. But you know what? He's too far gone. At this point, he's a genius in some ways, and in other ways he's frightfully rigid. So little Donny Pants basically is telling everyone that he wants to be dictator, and he wants to deport large numbers of people based simply upon race. I mean status as well. Yeah, if you're here without papers. He wants to deport anybody that's here without papers, right? Pardon me while I edit today's music performance. Actually, you can go back to watching. Bigfoot dancing. Once in a while, Bigfoot stops by the studio and helps out. Today's preaching music. The first half of the show was brought to you by Zenstar Beat Cult. The second half of the show is yours truly, Brother Seamus, on the Fruity Loops machine, making with the beats. The homemade beats. We're making with the beats. The homemade beats. They're homemade beats. Yeah. I only have 2 more things to show you, and then I'm going to go because I got to go build some garden dividers. It's going to be kind of fun, I think. So Zenstar Beat Cult did live bass guitar through effects pedal preaching music today. That was Zenstar. And then it was yours truly on the Fruity Loops, and that's what you're hearing right now. This is what I call preaching music. It's something I can talk over, but it also allows me to kind of keep a groove, you know what I'm saying? I like a groove when I'm preaching. I'm kind of new to the preaching thing. I've been a psychologist for 30 years, but now I'm getting out there on the interwebs. I got me a cool, you can't see it, but this microphone is adorned with pink and orange neon tape. And I'm using today, for the first time ever, an audio compressor because Sam, my music producer, begged me. He begged me to stop going without a compressor. So I gave in. I can't hear any difference. I'm sure he will be able to hear a difference. Video loops by yours truly. Or vocal loops and video loops. All right, now I just have to get rid of the gradient. I'm not a big fan of the gradient here. Proper music titles here. I like to give anybody that works on this show proper credit. So here's today's group. Preaching music by myself and Zen Star Beat Cult. Music production by Sam Kenny. Vocal loops also by me. And if you have some cool vocal loops you want to send me, they don't have to be vocal. Any kind of loop that I can kind of dance with and talk over. Big shout out to Bigfoot for breaking it down today. Bigfoot will be doing a live show tomorrow with a band called the Potato Babies down in a little town called Grand Rapids, Michigan, at the Festival of the Arts. So come out and see Bigfoot tomorrow, 4 to 5 p.m. at Grand Rapids City Stage. Just got another little something I want to share with you. It's a video. It's a fun little video. Oh, where did it go? I don't see it. Well, maybe we'll skip that video. We already did the t-shirts, so that's good. What else did we need to do today? Well, let me pick a video anyway, as long as I'm here. Oh, pardon me. Pardon me, I came in a little hot on that one, people. Came in too hot. Here's a new dance trend. Or I should say it's a video dance trend. I don't know that it's... So you couldn't do this live. You have to film this. This is backwards hair dancing, people. It's kind of fun. You film yourself and you dance, and it helps if you have a lot of hair. I'm going to try it, but I don't have any hair, so maybe I'll wear a wig. Maybe I'll wear a wig and try this and report back to you for the next show. I like to give myself homework. So this woman is doing a nice dance. Oh, she's got bell bottoms on too. She's got some bell bottoms on. She's doing the hair fling. I really like it. I can't play the music that's in her video, and I apologize, but them's the rules, people. They'll get you quick on the copyright infringement. But this is someone named Immortal Me or Immortal Mel 4. That means there's 3 other Immortal Mels. That's pretty cool. You can follow Immortal Mel on the TikToks. I'm going to click on another one, and I hope the sound's not on. Let's see. Okay, good. Sound stays off. She's taking 7 baths a day in the summer because I don't do sticky. All right, I can dig it. Very active. I like Immortal Mel's active approach. Ooh, look at that. What is that? It looks like a microphone. Oh, it's a back. Very acrobatic, Immortal Mel. I love your stuff. I wonder when the hair backwards hair thing started. I don't see any in the past few posts. And here's the backwards hair, I believe. Yeah, you can kind of see it happening already. That's Immortal Mel. I like to support other artists. Immortal Mel is doing well. Let's see how many followers does Immortal Mel have? I don't know if I'm allowed to know that. Oh, there they are. 16,000. Way more followers than Brother Seamus, but that's okay. I'm just starting out. I'm just season 2, episode 15. So I wanted to show you that video. We talked about Lyin Ted Cruz. Oh yeah, there was one other thing that I did in response to... So here's the quick end to this show. Steve Bannon was told he has to report to jail, right? You all probably heard that. And I'm trying to talk to Trump supporters because I want to give you a chance. I want to give people a chance to understand how manipulative this guy is. He knew he was going to be arrested. This is not a surprise. He refused a subpoena. He didn't want to go in and answer questions. Now, he could have taken the Fifth Amendment. It's easy enough to do. They can make you come in to answer questions, but you can say, I refuse to answer. But he wouldn't do that. He knew he'd get arrested, and he knew that he could use it to generate outrage. Right? Remember our amygdala, right? What does our amygdala do when we think we're being treated unfairly? What does our amygdala do when we think we're being victimized? What our amygdala does is tells us there's a big threat. So he was really hoping little Stevie flood the zone with bullshit. Bannon wanted you to feel like you, because they keep saying, if they can do it to us, they can do it to you. No, they can't. They can't do it to you unless you refuse a subpoena. If you and I refuse a subpoena, everybody knows that's been through any court situation. If you've been subpoenaed, you have to show up to testify. Now, you can show up and have a lawyer and say, I'm not answering your questions for the most part. Sometimes they make you answer some questions. That's our legal system. Steve Bannon knew it. He got himself arrested. Now he's caterwauling. And he wants you to be upset and think it could happen to you. It will only happen to you or me if we refuse legal subpoenas. You can't refuse them. That's the law. We all agreed to it. So don't let him fool you. Don't let Steve Bannon fool you. He's going to want you to feel like you're under such a threat that you need to take up arms against your oppressor. That's what we call stochastic terrorism. That's where somebody famous or semi-famous like Steve Bannon, I wouldn't call him famous. He's a real good agitator, though. He's a very good minister of propaganda. He pushes so much BS out there. A lot of people have a hard time telling the difference. That's what your brother Seamus. I'm here to try to help you distinguish what is panic-laden exaggeration designed to get you upset, designed to keep you on Facebook, designed to keep you locked in with your amygdala going off every 5 seconds like a damn fire alarm. They want you to be scared. They want you to be afraid. Fear allows them to control you, quite simply. Not complete control. Some people are more easily brainwashed than others. But if I scare you enough, and if I know you're someone susceptible to being scared, and how do I know you're susceptible? Because Facebook tells me. They don't tell me in so many words, but they allow me to target people who linger more and react more and are more engaged. Engaged equals enraged. That's on the exam. You can do it the other way too. Enraged equals engaged. That's Facebook's MO. And if I pay money, let's say I want to just get you to look at this image. This is a very non-threatening image here. It's the limbic system. But let's say I want you to see this wonderful limbic system. And I got to do the other hand. The amygdala is right there. It's a little blue one. Right at the bottom there is the amygdala. They say amygdaloid body. It looks like it's about the size of a pea. would be my guess. But it's your alarm system. They're constantly trying to touch that button. And Facebook's just very, very good at it. So I can pay Facebook and say, hey, I want to upset these people. Can you help me upset these people so that they'll believe things that aren't really true but sound true? It's called face value, right? Some of that shit Bannon says sounds true. Some of the shit that Lyin Ted Who Fled said, Lyin Ted Who Fled said, Lyin Ted Who Fled said. He said it's children are getting raped. People are being murdered, and it's all because of immigration, even though all the data on crime suggests that's not true. I'm not saying there's no problem with immigration. Nobody's saying that. Lyin Ted Who Fled's not offering. Lyin Ted Who Fled is not offering a solution. It doesn't want a solution. He wants you to stay engaged on social media so that you'll see his clips. They'll direct them at you specifically because they'll say, oh, Jim over here is more susceptible to this message. That's how they're going to get you. Some of you are saying it doesn't work on me, and maybe it doesn't. But if you're in the right situation, let's say you just go through a bad divorce. Let's say you're trying to give up drinking. Let's say your partner left you because you're drinking too much. Now you're vulnerable and you're mad. You're a much easier target. And they'll find you. You know why? Because you'll tell Facebook that's the state of mind you're in by clicking the angry face. If I can leave you with one piece, if you only follow one piece of advice, well, it would be get off of social media. Ironically, you wouldn't be seeing this without social media, but irony is another story. But get off of social media, but if you can't, if you need it for your business, just don't react to anything, but especially don't click the angry face. That's how they get you. You're telling them all about your amygdala. The minute you click on the angry face, they're like, oh, look, Jim is susceptible to fear when we use the word invasion over and over. His amygdala starts firing off, and he's telling us that. Jim is telling us that by staying engaged, by staying on Facebook, by clicking the angry face and then reading more articles and watching more videos that draw him deeper into fear. And then if you start saying, well, that all Mexicans are rapists and murderers, what happens next? You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be a psychologist of 30 years like me to know what comes next. It's the same story. We've done it over and over. One group of humans that has more power targets another group of humans and claims that there's something awful, from cockroaches to rapists. It opens the door to violence. It greases the skids for violent behavior. And sadly, that's what we call them, the Republicans right now. They're really the party of Trump. But what they really do is they take us towards violence. We've already been there. People, I shouldn't laugh, but we've already tried this. Humans keep trying this. None of us want to live in a violently oppressive culture, even if we're not the ones being violently oppressed. If you're a young voter, please. Joe Biden may not be perfect. Many of you may think he's awful. Some of you want to say he's just as bad as Donnie Trump Pants, but Donnie Trump Pants, in this way, on the measure of awfulness, Donnie Trump Pants and Lyin Ted Who Fled, and Stevie K, little Stevie K. He's got to go to jail now, I think for 40 days. Little Stevie K is going to jail. He wants you to be outraged, and he'll say, this could happen to you. But it couldn't happen to you if you do what your lawyer says and you show up for a legal subpoena. Hey, and by the way, I'll leave you with this thought. How come? How come is it? Tell me how come. How come it is? Because this confuses you, brother Seamus. How is it that if Joe Biden is so all-powerful and he runs the justice system, that he can force 12 jurors of Donnie Pance's guilt? He can They found Trump guilty. The 12 jurors. How can Biden control those 12 jurors? And if Biden is so powerful, how come he can't get his own son out of a frivolous prosecution for lying on a gun permit? That's what he did. He said he wasn't addicted to any illegal drugs or alcohol, and I think he was addicted to coke and booze, which we all know people that get addicted to coke and booze, so don't judge. How many people tell the truth on that form? And yet he's being prosecuted for it. So why isn't Joe Biden giving him a pardon if he's so in control of all this? Why would he let his only son, if you want to get biblical about it, why would he let his only son get persecuted for a frivolous claim? How many people lie on gun forms? Probably, I'd go 3/4. Because a lot of people that drink, they're not going to say they're alcoholics. But they are. So they're lying too. Point is this. Donald Trump got himself convicted. I know you don't want to hear that. He didn't have to cover up the hush money. That's what got him. And think about this. He was writing checks to pay Michael Cohen back for what Michael Cohen paid Stormy, because Trump's always good at using other people's money, as Chris Christie reminds us. He's writing those checks to Stormy in the Oval Office. The President of the United States is writing checks to a porn star in the Oval Office. 12 jurors agreed. And it didn't take them long to agree. Trump's wife wouldn't even come to the trial. What do you think of the man whose woman doesn't stand behind him? I stuttered there because I thought of the song, Stand by Your Man. Something, something, stormy weather. No, that's not in it. His wife wouldn't even come. He got convicted based upon the testimony of, this is on the exam, who testified against Trump? Former colleagues, employees, friends, some of whom he still considers, what's his dick from the National Enquirer his friend. And that's fine. But just remember, Joe Biden didn't make Trump's own people testify against him. Y'all get mad because people cross the border without papers, and that's, what, a misdemeanor probably? I don't know if there is such a thing as a federal misdemeanor. But the point is, it's okay for Trump to pay off a film star and lie about it. Okay, seems like a minor crime, but it's fraud. Mainly because of the way it affected the election. Had that come out, see, the voters never got a chance to know that money was being spent that way. That's where the fraud was. He cheated the voters. If Biden's controlling everything, but yet his own son is getting the book thrown at him, doesn't make any sense. I don't think you can make any sense out of that, nor should you try, because it's just a morass of bad logic. And you all say this all the time. You Trump supporters love the idea that Hillary was crooked. Remember when he convinced you Hillary was crooked? But of what crime? Well, her emails. What about her emails? What about them? Name the crime, show the evidence, and prosecute her. We don't worship our people the way you worship Mr. Trump, Mr. Donnie Pants. If something came out tomorrow about one of my favorite politicians that was very damning, like they were taking bribes and they can prove it, all right, let's see, bring the evidence to court. I mean, I'm not thrilled. I won't be thrilled if we find out, oh, Joe Biden did this thing. Well, okay. Punish him then. But you got to prove it. You got to prove your shit. You can't just yell election fraud. You can't just yell election fraud, people. Oh, dear. This is a Brother Seamus show. That's about all I've got for you. We did the t-shirts. We did the credits. Nobody called again. That's okay. I'm okay with that. I'll keep drinking my cold brew. You can call us when we're not on the air as well. And if you leave a snappy message, like this one I'm about to play for you, if you leave a snappy message, nope, I'm moving the wrong stuff around here, aren't I? If you leave us a snappy message, we'll play it on the air. If you ask a really good question or make a good point, we'll play it on the air. If you call with violent threats or just rhetoric, I mean, I don't care if you disagree with me. I'm your brother Seamus, after all. We can talk it out. But, you want to make some threats or whatever, you got to get to another program, because we're not into that. All threats, whether it be through voicemail or email or message, any kind of message, all reported directly to the easy-to-use FBI website. And I'll put your information all over this show. And no, we don't answer calls from blocked numbers. I'm sorry. I think that's, you should know better than that. We're not going to fall for that BS. I got to get going. I got some garden beds to build. Let's end with a little bit of Bigfoot dancing here. Bigfoot shows up whenever he, she, they, them feel like it. Most people don't know this, but Bigfoot is neither male nor female. They're both. Bigfoots can produce. They can reproduce, I should say, in a number of ways. But they're not concerned about that right now. What Bigfoot really wants is for Americans and Mexicans and Canadians and the British and the Indians and the Russians to use less energy, to use specifically fossil fuels that we dig up from the earth. Fossil fuels are killing us. That's Bigfoot's main message. That's why this character you see here is named Bigfoot for democracy. And Bigfoot loves to dance and loves to get jiggy. But he's here for a reason. He wants you to know social media is the greatest lie machine ever created. And that if we don't protect the environment, we're probably going to slowly kill ourselves off. And that's why having young people show up at the polls. Think about this, Gen Z people. You could fund separate, perfect bicycle lanes across the country. If all the Gen Zers and millennials voted, you could have cool-ass bicycle lanes that go above ground, below ground, have call centers or, emergency call phones, well lit, maintained, possibly even heated in areas of high ice and snow. You could have bike lanes like you've never seen before, but not if you leave 81 million votes on the table. Joe Biden got 81 million votes in 2020. Donald Trump got 74 million votes. 7 million vote difference. But guess how many people who could have voted didn't vote? 81, roughly. We'll round it to 80. 80 million people voted for Biden. Almost 80 million voted for Trump. Another 80 million didn't vote at all. That'll be on the exam. So basically, here's the correct answer. A third of eligible voters didn't vote at all. We are not good at voting. But if you want bikes in the future, let's get better. That's what one of the primary goals, one of the 3 social justice-y goals of this program, I hope you'll support it, is that we try to get people to the ballot box everywhere in the country, especially Oklahoma, Tennessee, West Virginia, and Arkansas. Why do I name those 4 states? Because they have the lowest voter turnout of any states, I believe. Check my math. Why aren't y'all voting? Texas is the worst state for voting. Only 51% of people that could be voting are voting in Texas. And who did we talk about today? We talked about young Lyin Ted Who Fled Cruz. See, I'm getting in the dark now, aren't I? Let's see how my head looks. Yep, too dark. I'm gonna step back. You gotta hit your mark if you want to be a celebrity, people. You gotta hit your mark. Turns out my mark is right in the middle of this rug that shows a black hole, and I'm standing in a black hole talking to you people live. Lyin Ted Who Fled when his community was in distress wants you to be in distress all the time. He wants you to be afraid because the big oil tycoons that grease Ted's palm so that he makes sure to stop any and all air quality regulation. He wants to get rid of the EPA. Trump already said that. If you want to get rid of any environmental regulations and let businesses run wild, by all means, vote for little Donnie Pants. You may think Joe Biden hasn't done enough or he shouldn't release the oil from the reserves, but guess what? He mostly agrees with you on environmentalism. I'm talking to my young environmentalists here, my young Gen Z. This world is yours to inherit. I would strongly encourage you to not give fossil fuel billionaires free rein to destroy the environment, because they will, because they don't care about your future. They care about their pocketbook right now. That's one of the things. I'm not even blaming one person. It's the fault of capitalism run amok. Capitalism with no safeguards. Capitalism where one person can acquire so much wealth and simply keep it. And then there are people starving, dying of malnutrition. All kinds of injustices happening. But we're going to let the billionaires drill. If Joe Biden is so powerful, how come Hunter Biden is getting his ass kicked in court? How come Hunter Biden is getting his ass kicked for filling out a form incorrectly? They also got him on dodging some taxes, but he already paid that off, and I don't know if that's still part of the case or not. Whatever the case, apparently Joe Biden believes in the rule of law. Some of you are so conspiratorially minded now that you're trying to spin this into a conspiracy where Joe Biden's just doing this as a stunt. Maybe he set the whole thing up. No, you know what happened is they wanted to get something on Joe. They couldn't, so they went after Biden. They weaponized the Department of Justice in their own way. Okay, well, if he broke the law, he's got to face the music. The future could be bikes. I want to leave you on a hopeful note. The future could be all about bicycles. And why do I say that? Now, you can get an e-bike. Those are pretty sweet. If all of us start riding bikes more right now, and part of the reason people don't ride, I know, I would say at least 50% of the people I know would ride their bikes more if it was safer. How are you going to make it safer? By funding, through a federal program, bike lanes across America. Okay, people, you with me? Forget about Republican, Democrat. I don't care about that shit. Do you want some bike lanes across America? 80 million voters sat home in 2020. Donald Trump will never give you bike lanes across America. Joe Biden would do it in a second. All you got to do is make it politically feasible for him to do it. And there's only one way to make it politically likely. Joe Biden does what people tell him to do for the most part. And by people, I mean we the people. We elected him. We wanted him to protect the EPA, protect the air quality, the water quality. We wanted him to make billionaires pay more in taxes. The choice is really kind of clear. And even Trump wouldn't disagree with this. Trump wants the billionaires on his side. He doesn't give a shit about air quality. He really does. He doesn't give a shit about, I hate to be so blunt, but hey, listen, let me tell you something. Donald Trump don't give a shit about air quality, and you know it. He doesn't really want to deport all the people that are doing the hard labor, but he wants to sound like, I mean, he'll do it to show off, because that's how gross he is. But if you want bike lanes across America, not just lanes, let's get the cars off the place where the bikes are. The cars don't want us. us bikers. I identify with the bikers here, people, in case you're wondering. The cars don't want us out there, and quite frankly, I don't want to be near them. I think they're right. I think automobile drivers shouldn't have to worry about bicycles, because you sneeze and you might hit somebody. But bicycles need more funding. They need more credibility, and that would bring down what would happen. It's a twofold. It's a double benefit. It would improve air quality, and it would reduce the cost of gasoline. So those people who have to drive their cars can do so more cheaply, more efficiently. We could make it work. And millennials, if you're listening to this, millennial and Gen Zers who are old enough to vote, you guys have the power. You're going to inherit the world anyway. And you also right now have a unique opportunity where there are as many of you as there are of the baby boomers. I think you outnumber the baby boomers. I'm not positive. It's an incredible amount of voting power, but 80 million Americans who could vote sat out in 2020. 1/3 of the voters didn't show up. Massive voter activation is how you get super awesome bike roads from shore to shore, from sea to shining sea, and from the very southern tip of the Big Bend National Forest, or maybe it's South Padre Island, I don't know what the southernmost point is, all the way up to the Canadian border. We could have bike lanes. And you know Canada would get in on it too. And Mexico just got a new president. They elected their first female president. Congratulations. They would get in on it too. Bike lanes as far as the eye could see. Let me do that again with a dramatic gesture. Bike lanes as far as the eye could see. Now, what if there were bathrooms along the way, right? I really like the idea of bike lanes across America. Bike lanes across America. How about some bathrooms along the way? We could even do compost toilets, right? Make them super efficient. You don't need plumbing. You pull the hatch and the urine goes this way and the poopies go that way. Solar power, robot operated bathrooms. God forbid some camping sites. People might want to ride out for a day, pitch a tent, take a snooze, take a solar shower, and ride back. Maybe cook some flapjacks. Something like that. That's the future if you vote. And I feel like it's really got to be the Gen Z. I hate to put too much pressure on two generations, but Gen Z and millennials, it's kind of on you, and you're going to have to take care of this. We didn't screw everything up, but this is kind of a mess now. If you're not aware of the sea level change, check me on this. You don't have to trust me. Don't just trust anything some bald guy tells you on social media, even if he does have cool curtains and colorful filters. The sea level change down in the Gulf for parts of Mexico and the U.S., the Gulf of Mexico, the sea level rise is happening, I'm going to say twice as fast down there. It's going up faster than they thought it was going to go up. I don't know that they know why it's going up faster other than it is. I mean, you can only guess with so much accuracy. So something's happening down there in the Gulf, and as the climate breaks down, one thing will lead to another thing. This is not the time to destroy all environmental policy. You may not love Joe Biden, but he loves the environment. He may not be doing it the way you would do it. I know some of you are hardcore. Some of you would do some hardcore stuff. But guess what? We need at least to have an environmental policy. Vote for Joe, and that's what you'll get. And if we mobilize enough young voters, we can have bike lanes across America. That's it for me. I'm your brother Seamus. I hope you'll buy some t-shirts to support us. Humans for Democracy is hosting us on Facebook. Humans for Democracy is also the name of our merch site through Bonfire. I'm going to give you one more look at it before we go. The future is bikes. Don't let Ted Cruz or Steve Bannon manipulate your limbic system. It's a lot of hoo-ha, people. Don't let them manipulate your limbic system, especially your amygdala. You got to protect your amygdala, people. You only have one amygdala. There you go. Humans for Democracy on Bonfire. You'll find t-shirts that say immigrants make great Americans. I wholeheartedly believe that. I also think it's important for white people to be actively anti-racist. I'm not saying I'm the best or the example or anything. I'm just saying it's the least we could do. Don't just be not racist. Be anti-racist. Push back actively so that we can flip into what I think Bernie Sanders talked about quite effectively, a truly post-racial society. That would be good for everyone, including white people. So white people, if you're freaked out about a post-racial society, just remember, to get to a post-racial point, we have to have a much more fair legal system. And it'll be fair for you too. Right now it might be excessively fair. You might give up some privilege, but wouldn't you like a legal system that overall becomes more fair? I know I would, especially if I'm poor. Because if you're poor and your legal system requires lots of money, you're in trouble, man. It doesn't matter what color you are. Your brother Seamus will never lie to you on purpose. I might lie to you in an exaggerated, fun way, but I'll always cop to it. Immigrants really do make great Americans. Not only is Ted Who Fled, Lyin Ted Who Fled Cruz, lying about immigrants, he's making you hate people who are actually coming to your country and helping. They're doing work nobody else wants to do. You lose that, you're going to hurt the economy. I don't care who you are. That's an exam question too, by the way. You can follow me on TikTok under Brother Seamus. You can follow me on Facebook. On Facebook, I'm hosted by Humans for Democracy. But over on TikTok, you can see short cuts, short bits, where I basically say the same thing that I'm saying here, but I do other stuff. This is a variety show, after all, so you may see some funky clips that you don't expect. Can't talk politics all the time. It gets annoying. I'm pretty good at ranting for long periods of time, so I'm going to keep doing it. Hopefully it'll have some effect, some benefit. All right. Here's a video I did. I can't play the music on this because, let's see, can I make this pop out? View analytics. No, thank you. Abortion does save women, but that's another program. We'll come back to that. Any and all purchases of t-shirts from Bonfire. If you're purchasing t-shirts on Bonfire, what I want you to know is all of that money is going to be used to, reimburse people that work on the show directly, and it's going to go towards social media buys where we try to convince people that immigrants are great Americans. Immigrants make great Americans. Sure, some of them are duds, but some of us are duds too, right? All right, let's do a 20-second millifade, 20 millisecond fade. I guess we could call it a millifade. And then I'm going to do a 20,000 millisecond fade to black and see if I can fade the music at the same rate. I don't mind that you didn't call. because I'm confident that you will someday, and I'll probably miss these days. I'm just talking to myself mostly. Here we go. Fading away.